Hi, welcome back to my workshop. If you saw my previous video, you'll know that I've recently acquired a load more tools and woodworking machines from my dad, which is great, albeit under somewhat sad circumstances, and I wasn't really ready for it yet. I've got a modest size workshop, and my dad has got, by UK standards, quite a big workshop really, a 4-car garage. So it caused absolute carnage trying to get stuff from mum and dad's over here into my workshop, and we've got stuff stored in the outbuilding down the bottom of our plot as well, and there's more to come, and it's still a bit chaotic in here, but I have managed to get myself somewhat organised. So I've got the big bandsaw in, replaced my little Aldi Ferrex one with that. The small pillar drill I had, I've on the bench over there, I've taken out, and I've got Dad's scroll saw in there in place of it. I've got his big pillar drill. I've made a mobile base for it. That's currently up that corner. There's still stuff kind of everywhere, but I've at least now got room to move, and I've been able to do a little bit of work in here. And I've even made some Christmas gifts for family and friends, and you know, been able to do some stuff, which is nice. And I finally got my mitre gauge on the wall, so it's not on the bench in the way, and just get myself a little bit organised. Anyway, next task I thought might make an interesting video, so I figure I will film it. I've got a mitre saw from Dad, Novex Champion, good bit of kit. Not sure where I'm going to store it. Blade's a bit rusty, but there's some spares. But what I've got is Dad's old tool chest. And I've got a plan for this. So this old tool chest, I mean, I've known it all my life. My understanding is Dad made this when he was an apprentice. So that puts it at about 60 years old, I reckon, like, well before me, obviously. And originally he had it so he could transport his tools to and from site. And then all the time I can remember, it's been sat in his workshop and has effectively been used as a small cupboard. So it was just on its side, holding screws and nails and bits and bobs and pieces, and just on a big shelf. Now, I want to use it as a cupboard as well, but I don't want to put it on a shelf. I want to hang it on the wall, and I want to use it to store my hand planes. So I feel it's going to need a little bit of sympathetic restoration, a little bit of tidying up and strengthening, because I just want to make sure that with the weight of all the hand planes in it, it's not going to come apart or come off the wall or anything. It's not a fancy Dutch tool chest or whatever's fashionable at the moment. You see loads of videos on YouTube of. It's just a basic box. It has got some holders here in the lid, so it would have held some saws and things in there. I don't know exactly what or exactly where they went. And in the middle, inside here, interior, it's just got a simple divider. I think perhaps it had some other fittings in it at some point, I don't know. But, you know, like I say, it's probably 60 years old. It's seen some life. It's got a bit of age and patina to it. It's got Dad's initials on it, which is nice. And yeah, it's a bit of family history, you know, like he had this, he made this, as I say, I think when he was an apprentice. So I don't know whether that was before or after he did his national service in the Royal Air Force, but one way or the other, we're talking 60 years ago or so. Dad was an apprentice, carpenter, joiner. You had to do national service in those days, 2 years. He joined the RAF. They said to him, what do you want to do? He said, well, apprentice carpenter, I want to carry on with that, and, you know, do some more stuff on the tools, learn some more skills, or I'd like to learn to drive and get my license. And they said, okay, great, you're a radio operator, because that's the way they did things. And then they wonder why people didn't stay in, but never mind. Yes, it's had a bit of use. It's had a life. This it's nothing fancy. It's just ply, and it's just kind of, you know, nailed together, and a simple thing. But it's lasted that long so far, and at least the first part of its life was quite tough. So, you know, fair play. It's been strong enough. It's done a job. First thing I need to do is vacuum all the dust and rubbish out of it, clean it up a little bit, and then I'm thinking, as I say, I want it to be nice and strong, to be hung on the wall, to hold all my hand planes. I've got a half sheet of 12mm ply, and I'm going to line this so that I can put another French cleat up on the wall, hang this on the cleat, and I'll be fixing the cleat through the bottom of the chest into another piece of 12mm ply, because this bottom is only about, I don't know, it looks like 9mm maybe, and I don't really trust it to be strong enough. So that's my idea. I think I'll also take this divider out and put a sturdier shelf in, so I've got 2 levels to put the planes on. Again, the 12mm ply should work for that. Right, so that's got it cleaned out and that partition out. I think I'm going to take these supports out as well, because they're just going to complicate life when it comes to lining it with the ply, and I don't really need them. If I can fix a shelf in to the ply lining without using these battens. I'm not sure what to do about this paper. Some of it's coming loose. Any museum conservators watching would be probably horrified by my use of the vacuum cleaner. It has removed little bits, but to be honest, I mean, I don't know what's lurking under it. Up the corner here, there was lots of little metal filings and stuff. I don't want things that's going to harbour rust or damp, or damp that will lead to rust. It's probably fine. I'm going to line it, like I say. Still got the original leather handle on here, and the key even attached. Although I think the key may be present, but some crucial part of the lock isn't, because it doesn't seem to actually do anything. But never mind. That can stay there as a little historic artefact. We don't really need it. Can you see me in there, internets? Right, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I'm just an amateur. But Dad has shown me a few tricks, and I've got a YouTube channel to share my hobby and interest in woodworking and maybe help some people out. I want to measure the inside of this box now to cut the lining piece for the bottom. Now, it can be a bit awkward to measure inside of something using a tape, because you've got to kind of bend it in the corner, and then that makes it a bit hard to judge. I mean, I think that's 695, but I could be out. It could be quite hard to tell on the bend. Now, some tapes have got a distance, or a measurement I should say, marked on the body of the tape, so you can just put it in and use the body of the tape as part of your measurement. Just add that to what you read off. This one has got it. It's only in imperial for some reason, even though it's an imperial and metric tape, so plus 2 3/4 inches it says on there. So I could do it that way. Or there's 2 other tricks that I've been told that might be and used, that might be good. So you can measure across as normal, pick a number, like a nice round number to go to. There's 600mm. Make a mark, then measure back across from the other direction. It does look about 95, so 695 was about right, and it might be good enough for this job. But in case you really need to be spot on, that's one way of doing it. Or if you've got a couple of pieces of scrap wood, you want 2 pieces that in total length are greater than the space, if you can see me, greater than the space that you're trying to measure there, but that when you overlap you can fit inside. So you do that like so, and then you either just mark your overlap All right, and then you can measure each piece and deduct that overlap. You've got to remember to deduct it once, not off both pieces, but you know, deduct that length from your total of your two battens, and you've got your dimension. Or you get your two pieces of wood, you spread them like that in the space, and you clamp them together. And then you've got your distance kind of recorded. You can actually use that to lay something out and not need to measure. You can just literally sort of set your fence of your table saw or whatever you're doing based off of that, with no further measurement needed. So I quite like that. Just tips for beginners, maybe it'll help someone. So I've measured that by 3 different means, and 695mm seems to be what they all agree on. So that's good enough for me. I need to work out the width of the piece that I need, or the front to back depth of the chest as well. And then I'm going to cut a piece for the base, and that's what I'm going to screw my French cleat through into. So through the base into that, and then I think I'm going to probably, if I've got enough ply, I think I'm going to cut some side pieces as well, line all kind of 5 sides of this thing, you know, and a shelf in the middle. And that's the plan. Right, cue air filter. Right, now the rip cut was easy enough on the table saw, but the cross cut's going to be a lot more awkward, so I think I'm just going to use a handsaw. One of the advantages of the old tool chest as a traditional way of taking your tools to site is you can use it as a little work holding bench like this. Well, I'll admit that the logical thing to do would probably be to cut all of the panels first and then do this, but I'm calling this a proof of concept. I'm going to route a 6mm housing, or rebate rather, across the end of this, 6mm deep, so halfway through the 12mm ply. I reckon if I do that all the way around, then I can put matching ones on the other sides, slot in, and it will just give it a little bit more rigidity. So I've got all my ply pieces cut and the rebates cut in them, or routed I should say, and they all fit relatively nicely. I mean, I must admit, I just assumed this was nice and straight and square because it was made by a master craftsman, but it wasn't really, was it? It was made by an apprentice who became a very skilled man. So, but it's not too bad. I think it's probably a good enough friction fit that I could just tap these home with a rubber mallet and leave them and they'd be okay. But I am going to screw them in as well. I'm not going to glue them because the paper liner that's in here, that's all coming loose anyway, wouldn't provide a very good kind of substrate to glue to. It wouldn't be very strong. And I want to keep the flexibility of being able to take this back out and return this to how it originally was if I want to for some reason. On which note, I've got a decision to make here because these saw holders now conflict with my liner, and I did think, well, should I try and keep the originality and cut some pieces out of the ply to accommodate those, but I think I'm just going to remove them. If I remove them, they'll probably get lost, which would be a little bit of a shame, but it's no big deal really. I don't have the same saws that Dad had stored in the lid here before. I don't know if he has them. I don't really intend to store any saws in the lid at the moment. Chances are I'd have to change these arrangements anyway if I wanted to do that, so I may as well take those off, I think. Only other thing is, and I didn't realise until I started assembling it, or disassembling I should say, this leather handle strap here, the bolt securing it actually went through the little batten that the divider was fixed to, which I've now removed. So I need to mark up the holes and drill through my ply to accommodate those. The only other point to consider is how I'm going to fix my shelf in here, because I want to have two levels to put planes on, so I've got better capacity. Now I was going to route housings in the end pieces and then mount a shelf in there, but I think I'm actually just going to screw some battens onto the end pieces and lay the shelf on that, because it gives me a little bit more flexibility. I can easily take that out and move it to a different position if I find that I need to, if it's going to work better. And doing that will allow me to screw those battens straight through and fix the end pieces of ply in, so it kind of kills two birds with one stone. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So that's it done. It's up on the wall. It's a little bit high, but basically I wanted to clear the pillar drill, so I can just adjust the speed on that without moving it around. It wouldn't be the end of the world if I had to roll it forward to do that, but that seemed like the way to go. I think it looks pretty smart. I'm not sure if I'm going to bother putting a catch thing on there, because I mean it just rests on the top of the pillar drill there. But I can load that up with all my hand planes, which I'm going to do now. Got them all sat here ready. That will get them out of the way. Where they've been stored I can put something else and they'll be better off in there. They've just been temporarily in a plastic kind of box tray thing under my workbench, and they're going to get covered in sawdust under there, which is something that does make things rust, because obviously sawdust attracts moisture. Don't really want that. And they're some of my favourite tools. There's something cool about a hand plane, and I've got some nice ones now. You know, I bought this not so long ago. This battered, ancient looking one Dad gave me years ago. Despite appearances, it's actually pretty good. It's a Stanley Bailey. So although it was out on site with him and it's had a hard life, it still works well. I mentioned in my previous video I bought a number 71 Router plane just before all this stuff kicked off and I was inundated with lots of other tools from Dad's workshop, like this nice Stanley block plane that I've picked up from him, and I've got my Veritas low angle jack plane, which is a bit of an indulgence because they're an expensive tool, but really, really nice. So I'm going to get the box loaded up with my hand planes, and we'll see how it goes. Now, I did say I was going to do some more videos on this channel not so long ago, and obviously Dad's ill health and all that's entailed has kind of delayed that. It's delayed lots of projects, but I've still got lots of things in mind that I want to make, and lots of things that I'd quite like to make videos on and share my thoughts on. I quite enjoy doing it, and hopefully you've enjoyed watching this video, taken something from it. If it's been anywhere useful, then that's great. Maybe it's even inspired you to go and do something similar. Find an old antique tool case with a bit of patina and a bit of a nice look to it, and convert it into something. It doesn't have to be used for tools. You could put whatever you want in that. I've seen people make coffee tables out of them. Maybe not for me, certainly not for my wife, I think, but I don't think I'd get away with that. But the world is your mollusk, as they say. Thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you again soon.